Okay, we're live now. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Azure episodes. And today we have Samson Amugo. Uh, he's a Microsoft certified trainer and a Microsoft valuable professional. So I'll allow Samson to introduce himself.
Hello everyone, I am Samson Amugo. I am a full stack developer and a Microsoft MVP. Happy to be here.
Yeah, so today Samson will be taking us through achieving near zero downtime with blue-green development with Azure DevOps. So Samson, over to you.
All right. Let me share my slides. So, hello everyone. I'm glad to be here. And in today's session, we're going to be looking at something cool. And the topic is achieving near zero downtime using blue-green deployment and Azure DevOps. So, what exactly is the blue-green deployment? The blue-green deployment is a release strategy that is used to minimize downtime and the risks involved in releasing new features or updates to your production environment. So in the blue-green deployment release strategy, we have two key environments, the blue environment and the green environment. So the blue environment is usually associated with the production environment, while the green environment is usually associated with the staged environments or the environments where new updates are first deployed to before being sent to the production environment. So the blue-green deployment enables you to carry out thorough testing in the green environment before being qualifying your environment as being production ready for the production environment. So what happens is that you push out your updates, roll up your update to the green environment or the staged environment. And then once the thorough testing and verification has been done and it's passed successfully, then you could now roll up those changes to your production or your blue environment. Now we have the switchover property of the blue-green deployment. So in a cloud service like the Azure DevOps, Azure Cloud Service, you could make use of the Azure Traffic Manager to implement this. So the Azure Traffic Manager is a DNS-based load balancer. So with it, you can easily redirect traffic to any environment of your choice easily without much configuration. So let's look at some of the advantages of the blue-green deployment. So we have minimal downtime doing upgrades. So due to the fact that you're making use of, like in Azure, you're making use of a very easy DNS load balancing feature to redirect traffic. You can easily swap the traffic and redirect traffic to any environment of your choice, and that happens so quickly. Then another advantage is the rollback. You can roll back features. Let's say you have an issue with the production environment. You can easily roll back your code to the previously deployed code. Then another advantage is reduced risk. So due to the fact that you have to first deploy your code to the green environment before sending it to the blue environment, you're rest assured that you can carry out efficient and thorough testing on the green environment before pushing those changes to the production or blue environment. And another one is testing in a production like environment. So the green environment kind of mirrors the blue environment. So they are almost the same kind of environment, but just that you have to first roll up your changes to the green environment. And this makes testing to be more um, like you have more guarantee because the environments are just the same, but just different by naming. And finally, you can easily carry out like load testing and stress testing on the green environment. And the behavior of the green environment would also be similar to how the blue environment would react. So let's look at what we're going to be building today. So we would have our code. We'll use VS Code to write our server code. And then we'll push the code to the Azure Git service, which is Azure repos and we'll be making use of GitHub Azure DevOps here. So we'll push the code to Azure repos, and after pushing the code to Azure repos, we'll set up our pipeline. So we'll set up the build pipeline, and we're also going to set up the release pipeline. So the build pipeline will be in charge of creating the artifacts, the build artifacts, and the build and the release pipeline would be in charge of deploying the artifact to the proper environment. And the release pipeline will also be in charge of setting up a switch or an approval that will enable us to like swap between environments. Then, okay, let's look at what so this is just a simple tree, a Mame diagram tree of what we're going to be doing. We'll write a code, we push it to Azure repos, we trigger pipeline to release build artifacts, then we deploy to staging environments in the release pipeline, and finally, we wait for approval to swap to production in the second stage of the release pipeline. So this seems a lot and seems a bit complicated, but we'll break it down as we get through this session. So let's get coding. So here I have, so this is the project. This is the project. And in this folder, I have the web application using ASP.NET. And here I have the testing code. So this is the test code. I just wrote simple test cases, or just a simple test rather, for this web app. So what we're going to do is we're going to push this code to Azure repos. And let me just explain what the code does. So this file infra.bicep, so this is like the infrastructure as a code definition of what the Azure Web App Service would look like. So we'll be creating a Linux server for our Azure Web App, and we'll be using the standard SKU. So for you to use slots, since we're going to be using slots in this service, we'd have to use the standard SKU or something above the standard SKU, like the premium should work. But if you are to opt for the basic SKU, you will not be able to utilize the slots feature of the Azure DevOps service. So here we have the website. So this is the web app MVP blue green, and this is a slot we'll be creating under this web app. So we'll just create a slot called the staging slot. So let's now get into the web application. So this web application, we have two routes. We have this home route and we have this calc route. So this home route or the root route just returns this HTML file or this HTML content rather. And this calc route just returns the value of two additions, like two integers summed together. But there's an error here, and I purposely left the error. It's a little bug. I left it so that we could actually appreciate the benefit of the blue green deployment strategy. But let's test this code locally to see how it works. So cd into blue green .NET run. Okay. Calc. So the root route is returning. This is v1. So let's try the calc route. So calc.add. We want to add two values, so just do 3/1, and that should give us 4. So 3 plus 1 is 4. And you have a question? Okay, so no question. So this is basically what the calc route does. You could use it to perform basic arithmetic operations, by using the parameters. So let's get into pushing this code to Git. to Azure repos. Okay, but before that, let's look at the test case. So in the test case here, I'm just checking the result of adding 1 and 2. Once you sum 1 and 2, you should give us 3. So I'm testing this class. I'm testing this static calc class here. So yeah. So once I execute this test, it should work properly. But funny enough, this test, I also deliberately made it in such a way that this test will not be able to catch the error, which I would, expose later on in this session. So let me open this. So we have a project in Azure DevOps, and we have a repository here. So I'm going to copy the repository link. So I'll copy this and I'll add it. Yeah. So let me stage my changes, commit them, made some changes. Oh, I need to add it, commit. Then next I'll push. So git push origin master. Yeah. So this should push. Yeah. So we should have our code now on Azure repos. So once I refresh this, or once I click on this, yeah. So this is our file, our repository. So next we are going to create a pipeline. So I'll click here and I'll click on create pipeline. I'll click on this. Then I also want a starter pipeline, which I'll edit. So I can remove this. So the good thing about Azure DevOps pipeline is that it has this graphical assistant feature. So you don't have to like code everything from scratch by copying and pasting. You can easily just click on the task here and to be added to your file, which makes it quite seamless to do. So we'll make use of the trigger, the master trigger. So once there's a commit or a push to the master branch, this pipeline should be triggered to execute. And then we'll be making use of the Ubuntu environment. And for our steps, this one is not really important. We could remove this, we could remove this, not important. So let's build our code. So build everything, anything that has CS proj. We'll just build the projects out like that. Yeah, so after building, the next thing I want to do is to run the test. So let's run the test. Let's add the test task. So then the location of the test. Looking at this, location is blue green tests. Should be blue green test.cs proj. So in case you're wondering, this asterisk is just a globe pattern, meaning recursively just find the location of the blue green test file for me. So that is what this globe pattern means, this asterisk, double asterisk. So I'll add this, and the next thing I would want to do is to publish this, like publish the web application into a file. So I'll add the tags for that. So I'll say publish Then I would say I'll define some arguments like the configuration. So I want it to publish using the release option so that it be optimal for production. Then I'll set the output to, let me just say, web app. Then next, I want to target the particular project that should be used to build the solution. So I'll just say um, blue green slash blue green .cs proj. Yeah. Then I could remove this not necessary. Yeah. So the final step here is to, you know, publish the artifact. So I'll just say type publish artifact. And here I have this task here. So I'll click on publish build artifacts. And I want to publish the entire thing in the sources directory. So I'll just change this location to sources directory. So in case you're wondering what this means, so this is a predefined variable. So the sources directory is a predefined variable, and this location is the location of your repository, like the files in your repository. So I think it's okay. I'll just add this and I would run. Let me run this to see whether it work. Um, so I'll click on save and run. So let's monitor the progress of the job. So I'll click on this job and watch it build.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, did you create the web app before you created the pipeline, or you created the web app while using Azure pipelines itself?
Okay, I created the web app before using Azure pipelines. The only thing I'm creating here now is the pipeline. So like this now I created this pipeline. I would need to do some git pull here. I already have the web app defined, created here, but I don't have the pipeline definition. So by creating a pipeline on Azure DevOps, I have to update this repository locally by doing git pull origin master. I should see like a YAML file definition. So let's pull. Yeah. So this is the pipeline now that was created in Azure DevOps. So this is the only new thing that I'm adding.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. So let's go back to the progress of the pipeline. I just hope will not be any error in the build. Mm, yeah. So the tests passed. Okay. So there's an error somewhere. So what is this arrow saying? Blue green.cs project. Oh, they're telling me what is the error? Only one project can be specified. Did I make an error? Okay, okay, okay. Release. Okay, okay. So let me go back to the pipeline. I think there's an error somewhere. So I'll click on this. Mm, it's from this build. Okay, so I'll just remove this. It's not necessary. I think automatically it copies the web application. So if I add this will edit it. And once I save, then I run the build again. But the build should be working. It should be running actually. Yeah. So we have another build. Okay, cool. So no errors this time around. Mm, it's publishing the artifacts, and yeah, so the build pipeline worked quite well this time around. So let's just update our code locally. Git pull origin master. Yeah. So the next thing to do here is to create the build pipeline. Sorry, is to create the release pipeline. So the first thing I want to do here is to click here to add the artifacts that will be used for this release. So I'll select the source. I'll select from this pipeline, the blue-green event pipeline. Then this is just an alias to the artifact gotten from this build, the build that was just done earlier on. So I just click on add. Then I want it in such a way that once a build is triggered, this release pipeline should be executed. So I'll click on this Thunderbolt symbol. Then I'll click on enable continuous deployment trigger. So next I'll create the what are we going to call this pipeline first? So let's call it blue green pipeline. So let's create a stage. Let it be okay. Let's deploy. Should it deploy here? Okay, let's click on this Azure App Service. Then let's call this stage staging environment. Then click on the job here to edit the task. So the first thing we're going to do before we start setting up this configuration to deploy to Azure App Service is to set the templates that will be used to deploy our services. So we don't have any, like currently we don't have any Azure Web App Service running. So we have to like attach a task that will like set up the Azure Web App Linux server and Azure Web App application. So let's click on this add button here and type ARM, which is Azure Resource Management Template. So I'll click on add. I want this template to be executed before the deploy Azure App Service. So I'll just take it up. Then I'll select my subscription here. Select my subscription. I'll have to authorize it. So I'll click on authorize.
Another question is because I know that you can use ARM, but can you use Bicep? Because I know Bicep is built on top of ARM. So if you don't
Yeah,
want to,
yeah,
if you have like the programming like stuff, can use like Bicep instead of using ARM for
yeah,
the
yeah.
release. Yeah,
The ARM template task here enables you to select a bicep file instead of the default ARM JSON file. And that's what we're going to be using here too. We'll be using this bicep file that was defined locally. So this is what we're going to use.
I love Bicep.
Yeah, yeah, it's way easier than the JSON type. So let's select the subscription. I'll select this. So let's which group? What is the group now we're going to use? Let's call it blue green. My blue green. Or let me create a variable rather for this. So you can create a variable that we use across your release pipeline. Let me call it group and let this group's name be blue green, blue green. Then if I go back to my task, oh, I have to select it again. So I have to select my subscription all over again. For the service, where is this? Sorry. Uh-huh. So I'll use the variable that was just defined. So I'll just say group. So the dollar symbol is used for accessing the variable defined, the dollar and the parentheses. So the location, let me deploy to West Europe. Then this is where I'll select the template that will be used. We'll be selecting the bicep template. So I'll click on this icon, and I'll click on this drop down, drop. Then I'll click on infra.bicep. So now we're done with setting up the template that we use to like create our resources. The next thing is to set up the Azure App Service task. So for the app service name, what are we going to use here? It will, wait, let me remove this thing and put it up again. Add Azure Web App. Add it. Cool. So I'll select the subscription, select the web type, app type. Then for this one, I would have to use exactly the same name that was defined in my bicep file. So the name of the web application is MVP. Let me just copy it so I'll not make a mistake. So I'll just copy this web app and paste it. Yeah. So I'll tick on this so that I'll be able to like deploy to the staging environment instead of production. So I'll type here staging. And if you're asking how are we able to like create this environment, it was defined in the bicep file here. So this is why I like defined my resource definition for the staging environment. So okay, sorry, this is group. This is not environment. So here I'll set group. I'm using the variable defined across the release. So here for the slots location or field, I'll fill in staging. Then this is where I'll select the zip file from the artifacts that was created from the build pipeline. So I'll just click on these three dots, click on this drop down, click on this drop down, select blue, select web app because that was what I defined as location of my published application. So I'll select this zip file here. I'll click on OK. Then I think we are good to go. So the next thing to do here is to click on save. Then I'll save this. Then I'll go back to the pipeline. It's remaining one more. So what this stage does is that it deploys to the staging environment. But what about when I want to, like after checking and verifying that the staging environment is working properly? That means the code, deployed to the staging environment is working as expected, what happens when I want to like swap it with the production environment? So that is what I'm going to do. I have to like create a new stage that would have a little script that perform the swapping operation. So I'll click on add, I'll click on new stage, and I'll just click on empty job. So I'll call this stage swap. That's what I'll title it. The name of this stage is called swap. Then I want this stage to require some pre-deployment conditions. So I want it to, so how will I do that? I'll scroll down here. I clicked on this Thunderbolt sign. Then I'll scroll down to pre-deployment approvals. So I'll enable this. Then I want I myself to be the one that will approve the swapping operation. So I'll only swap it when I verify that the staging environment, like the application, is running as expected in the staging environment. So I'll type my name here, Samson KY. So I think that is fine. Then I'll click on save. So the final thing here to do is to edit the task or the job that will be executed in this stage. So I want to work with an Azure CLI. So I'll type in the Azure CLI keyword here. So I'll add the task. So I'll add this task. Then I'll click on my subscription. I'll select my subscription. Then for the script type, I mean, if you have the scripts in your, okay, for the script type, I'll select PowerShell. Then for the script path, you could actually write it, make it to be in line. You could just write out the script on the field here, or you could select the file path from your artifact. But I'll just work with the inline one. So I'll click on this drop down and select inline script. So here I'm making of the AZ web app CLI command. So the AZ, I'll click on AZ, I'll type AZ web app deployment slot swap. The group is what is the name of that group? Let's see. Blue green. So blue green. Then next would be the name of the web application. And the name of the web application is, if I remember, we copied it here. MVP blue green. So I'll paste it here. Then I'll select the slots that I want to swap it with. So I'll say slots, staging, then I want to swap it with the target slots. So I'll say I want to swap it with the production slots. So I think this is it. MVP blue green slots, staging. Did I make a mistake? Oh, there's a mistake here. Yeah, I think this should be correct. Yeah, okay, production. So I'll click on save. So what this script does is, hey, I want to swap the staging environment to the production environment. I want to just route all the traffic from the production to the staging environment, and I want the staging environment to become the production environment. So that is what this command just does. So I'll click on save, then I'll click on OK. Then the next thing I want to do here is to click on, okay, let's look at our pipeline first before we create the release. So this is our pipeline. Once the artifact is being built, it triggers this stage to be executed. Then once this stage, what the stage does is, hey, deploy this application to the staging environment. Then before it's being sent to the production environment, I'll have to approve it. So I'll click on create release. So this will take some time because we don't have the resources built. So I click on create. Then I'll just click on this release one here. to monitor the progress of the release. So it's running now. So let's look at the logs. I'll just click on this log button. So this will take some time. So just be patient.
I mean, before the starting of this call, I have never used the release feature. So I've built projects. I probably just use the pipelines to do everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's just do everything. But now I see the reason for using like the release feature and how it's seamless to we have all of the logs and it shows everything.
Yeah. The good thing about it is how you can easily like set up gates, release gates. So there are like some requirements. You could actually like set up some requirements that should be, passed or verified before a particular stage is triggered to run. So that is one good thing about the release. And the fact that you can just separate concerns. You could have your build pipeline, which is normal pipeline feature. You can build and just push out, publish artifact. Then you can have different releases. Maybe a release that would deploy to your test environment, your development environment, or your production environment. Like it just helps to separate concerns.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Then plus the approval feature is one really cool thing that I like. So you could just have a button, like just like we're going to do here. So once I click on the button, a particular stage would now be executed. So let's just look at it.
Another question I have is because of the approval button. So let's say
Mhm.
the release pipeline has finished. Is it possible to configure it that an admin gets an email so that okay, you need to approve or you need to decline or something
Yeah,
like that?
by default, since I'm the admin and I'm also in the team here, I would get like I've already gotten an email telling me that the build was successful and that the pipeline is running. Like I also get all those notifications on my phone.
Amazing.
Yeah. So it has successfully deployed to the staging stage. So let's click on the pipeline. So you're seeing the button now telling me to approve. That means I should swap it to the production. I should swap it to the production. But I don't want to do this. So the next thing I want to do is to verify the application that was deployed to the staging stage. So I'll just click on my Azure portal. I should refresh this and I should see that my group has been created, the blue green group, resource group. And this is my application. So let's click on the production link to show you that there is nothing here in this production environment. So as you can see, the production environment is still empty. But once I try to access the staging environment, you see that the application is running there. So let's see. So you see the application is running in the staging environment, but not the production environment. So one of the aim or the benefits of the blue green deployment strategy is that since I know that this staging environment mirrors the production environment, that means its behavior here should somehow resonate with its behavior in the production environment. But then let's test the application to be sure that it should work as expected. So the default home route is showing me what I want, but does the calc route actually give me what I want? So I will navigate to that. So calc add, let's add 3 plus 1. So it gives me 4. If I refresh this, is it still going to give me 4? So let me refresh this and see. So you see 5. So that means there's a problem in the logic that was used in the code. So that means this application has an error and I should not push or deploy to the production environment. So let's look at the code to resolve the issue. So I'll go back to the code, and this is the code. So this is the code. So looking at the code now, you can see that it's for each addition process that is being done, like each summation process, it iterates the value of init after the addition has been completed. And this is a bug. So to resolve this, and funny enough, the test was not able to detect this. But if we want our test to detect this, we'll have to edit our test to run multiple times, to run this logic multiple times. So let's enter the directory of our test. So let's say build green tests, and let's run .NET tests. And executing this test once, you see that the test case is going to pass. It was not able to detect the error. That is because when you run this, when you execute this logic once, it will give you what you want, but on subsequent execution iterations, you'll discover the bug. So to do this, we'll just attach another attribute, inline data attributes. So let's add 5 and 4. 5 and 4 should give us 9. So by the time we do this, this is our second execution. By the time we do this, you see that this test case will fail. So let's see. Yeah. So one test passed, but the second one didn't pass. So what we're going to do is to edit our code to resolve this. So we'll just delete this init, remove it. It's not necessary. I just wanted to like emphasize on the benefit of the blue-green deployment strategy. You could carry out your tests on your green environment and push it to production if it's doesn't have any bug or it has passed verification stage. So let's run the test again to see whether this issue has been fixed. So I'll say .NET test. Yeah, so no issues. As you can see, 2 test cases passed. So the next thing is to let me just pull git pull to ensure that I don't have any change remotely that I don't have locally. So git pull origin master. Hmm. Okay, so my branch is already up to date. So let me stage my changes. Git add, git commits, fixed code. Then push, git push origin master. Yeah, so by design, a new build process should be triggered because looking at our YAML definition for our build pipeline, you could see that we added a trigger on the master branch. So once there is a push to the master branch, the build process should start. So look at it here. The build process is currently running. And once this build process has completed, there should be an artifact created at the end of this build process. And the creation of that artifact will trigger the release pipeline to commence. So let's just look at the progress of this build pipeline. Yeah, so as you can see, we have one artifact published. So this should trigger the release pipeline to start. So see, is queued. So let's click on this. It's now running. Let's click on the logs to monitor it. Mm, okay, it takes some time to deploy. Sha. So it's in its final stage. Yeah, so we have it deployed. So I believe executing this route multiple times should give us 4. So let's try that out. So if I execute this, I should get 4. If I refresh this again, I should still get 4. So that means the code has been fixed. So since the code has been fixed and I haven't detected any bug in this staging environment, the next thing is to approve the swapping of this staging environment to the production environment. So um, how I do it? Mm, okay, let me click on the pipeline. Click on my release. Mm, why is this queued? Trying to swap. Okay, it's queuing. That means I have to do this one first. I think. Let's swap here first to see. Um, approve. Um, excuse me. Okay, so I'm back. Sorry for the interruption. Let's go back to the code. Um, so let's look at the swap operation. Okay. It's still running. So let's see. Mm, it's taking quite some time. I don't know. Yeah, cool. So I believe by now the production environment should have our production code in it. So let's see. Yeah, we have it running. So let's test the calc to be sure. Calc, add three and one. Yeah. So that is the cool thing about the blue green deployment strategy. So if there is any update that I perform here and I push it to Azure reports to trigger another build, and once the build is complete, an artifact will be generated, and the generation of that artifact will trigger the release pipeline to start running. So this one is pending approval. But let me see something. I think I need to edit this. Edit release. Oh, discard. So do you have any question in regards to blue green, the blue green release strategy?
Yeah, let me check the comment section. I don't think there are any questions there.
Okay.
Uh, I think it's quite cool because normally you go to the web apps to swap staging to production, right? But now you
Yeah.
can do it with the automation process of Azure CLI. So I
Mm-hmm.
think it makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So the last thing I wanted you to talk about after this session was the .NET community that you're leading. And I wanted to give a background of what it's about and how people can join as well.
Okay. So I do have this WhatsApp group called .NET Blooms. So it's basically a WhatsApp group or channel, a community where people that are interested in technology, programming, but mostly .NET related technology can participate, and they could share resources, opportunities, and updates in regards to .NET and its ecosystem in general.
Amazing. Yeah, so I'll link the WhatsApp group to the .NET community in the YouTube description, and
Okay.
also Samson's LinkedIn profile as well. So in case people want to connect with him. So yeah. Is there another thing you want to share with us, Samson, as regards anything at all?
Not really, but like I've used GitHub Actions, and you know I've also used Azure DevOps pipeline. And I really love the interactive feature of the pipeline. I just wish GitHub could add a feature like this, whereby you could easily edit your GitHub Actions by having some interactive assistive tool, something like this, instead of going to documentation and copying the actual text. You just click and then to be added. I think it's a very cool feature.
I mean, now that you talk about it, there's a marketplace for GitHub Actions, right? But I don't think it's as
Hmm.
advanced as Azure DevOps because you have the code editor one side
Hmm.
and you have like the helper assistant the other side.
Yeah, yeah.
When I was learning Azure DevOps, these assistants were my go-to because I didn't know how to write the entire script YAML file from scratch.
Hmm.
In fact, it was later on when I started custom custom writing this YAML file that I noticed that I could do some funny stuff. But if you just want to, they keep it simple and clean. That's why I like the
Yeah,
helper assistants. And you can also
yeah, yeah,
input the parameter that automatically populates everything for you.
definitely. So since GitHub doesn't have it, I mean, anyone that wants to work on an open source project could decide to pick it on. A web
Absolutely,
application
yeah.
that helps you to create a GitHub Actions YAML file interactively. I think that would be a nice GitHub open source project.
Yeah, and we're in the season of open source, right? So
Yeah, October 1st.
yeah, October 1st, rather. So I think it's a good idea. I might pick it up.
Yeah. So let me
Yeah, so
conclude here. So this, I'm saying thank you for offering this opportunity for me to use this platform to teach about Azure DevOps and the blue green deployment strategy. So you can, if you're trying to contact me or reach out to me, you can contact me on Twitter. This is my handle, Swagblooms, or my blog. You could check out my articles there, or you could reach out to me on my LinkedIn, Samson Amugu. So thank you very much.
yeah, thank you so much, Samson. And this session was quite enlightening because I'm also into DevOps, and a lot of the
Yeah.
community are also into DevOps as well. So it's enlightening that we see someone teach us how to take a project and automate the build and release pipeline. So the last thing is the GitHub repo to the project. Do you have the link for that so people can also practice
Okay.
alongside watching the
Let
code?
me let me push it. Let me push it to GitHub right now. I'm coming.
Okay.
Down. So mhm. How am I doing? New project.
I mean, you still use Azure repos, I would assume.
No, like, is it that I can't create a new project on GitHub or what? I beg, wait. This is embarrassing. Where is that button? Okay, C plus here. Wahala. Yeah,
I think they changed the UI or something.
yeah, they actually changed their UI recently. So let me call it blue green, bluegreen.net. Create a repository. I want to attach the script too for
Yeah.
swapping because I had to like add it in line. So I just have to create PowerShell, a PowerShell this thing, command here. Let me call it swap.ps1 PowerShell. So easy web app deployment load swap. Um, should be your group. Then I have dash n name of the web app. Mm, yeah, that's pretty much it. So what is this telling me? Let me just call it resource group. Okay. So add this git add git commit um, added swapping command. Mm, okay. Then add the GitHub. Then git push GitHub master. Cool. So we have the repository online on GitHub. So you can obtain it here. Oh, I would have removed this bin folder. It's not important. I shouldn't add this. But anyway, you get the hang of it, sure. So this is the
Yeah.
link. How will I put it here now? Okay, I can
I
paste it
think
in
I
the
think I
chat.
sent it to, yeah, and also I would also get it as well. Oh, that's a private chat.
Okay.
I think you can also send it. Okay, you sent it to me, so I would append it to the YouTube description as well.
Okay. That's fine.
Yeah, so everyone can get it. Yeah, thank you so much, Samson. I'm going to practice with this because I've not used the release pipeline before. Yeah, so definitely I'll clone and probably fork it and start practicing today. Yeah. So we've reached the end of this session, and we have, I think, one more session for the month. And thank you so much, Samson, for dedicating your time to teach us about Azure DevOps and Blue Green development. That's the end of today's session. You can connect with Samson on LinkedIn, Twitter, and also read up his blog post as well. Yeah, thank you so much, Samson, and that's the end of it.
Nice.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for having me. Hope to do this some other time.
Yeah, bye, Samson.
Yeah.